Greetings, I am Liz.
And I am Scandal.
And let's work in an arcade together.
Yes, I'm very excited. Sorry, I'm having some
My friend
issues.
is trying to figure out where to put the mouse.
Mouse,
It's okay.
stop arousing the interest of the whoa. Hang on, you're going to have to excuse me.
Hold on, we get this. Trying to figure out where to hide the icon.
Whoa, there we go. Da-da-da.
Alright, so technical difficulties of being a gamer, you know, it's fine. Alright.
It never happens at all. Not
Here
even
we are,
once.
diving right in. Welcome back.
Aha,
The air
appreciate it.
conditioning hits me like a cool breeze, albeit one smelling of copper and corn chips. Was it hot outside? I want to know.
I didn't know that either because they didn't bring
They didn't
it
tell
up.
us anything. Honestly, I'd like to know if our apartment was hot. So that was the thing I always had in cheap apartments, where it's like in summer you just
It's
die
always
of heat.
really hot. Yeah, because the
you
air
can't
conditioning
cool
is
it.
so expensive.
Or you
yeah.
just don't have air conditioning. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's a
that
cheap
too.
apartment.
Oh yeah, or what you have is a swamp cooler, but the swamp cooler is always breaking down, or you don't even have a swamp cooler. You have nothing. You have 90 million fans.
For me, I had open windows.
Yeah, I said.
That's what I had.
Yeah.
No paying for electricity, no
No,
anything. It's just open windows.
Which is very different from me. Oh my god. We mostly had fans when I was growing up, like when we were actually in an apartment that we had to be in. So it was that one apartment that I talked to you about that they had the cockroach problem, that they actually had to go and they had to fumigate it. But so that was fun.
That was exciting. All right, as it's early in the morning on a weekday, it's not too packed with gamers. Although it's so packed with games, I'll probably have a hard time finding anyone. Anyway, navigating my way
alas,
around here.
woe is me. There are too many games.
Okay, so I'm just thinking
Now,
of
are
the
they
Final
fun
Fantasy thing
games?
real quick. Of going, it's so packed with games, but in here there's obviously plenty of space between them in the illustration, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I'm just imagining everybody turning sideways and doing the sideways scoot when there's lots of room. And so there was this thing in Final Fantasy VII, which we're doing a Let's Play through, where they were scooting between trucks and a fence, and they just kept smashing themselves against the fence and scooting when there was
And
tons of
complaining,
room.
going, it's a tight squeeze, blah, blah, blah.
And, like, there
you
was
turn
so
around,
much room.
And you just go, Cloud's shoulders would literally fit in between here, walking just straight dead on, he's fine.
Even Barrett's would in that first one. Like,
I
they just,
know!
like, all of
That
you
was
could be
so
walking
bad.
straight. What are you doing? All right. At once, I'm struck by something odd. I actually recognize most of these games. I say out loud.
Neat!
To Iris. Wow, I'm just talking to my phone. Considering, I just imagine this person walking in, talking to their
phone,
being
somebody.
like, staring around and being like, well, phone, this thing. Someone else, that's fine. That happens all the time. It's
That's
good.
okay.
Considering I haven't walked into an arcade in over a decade, that's probably not great. Lots of vintage stuff here from the looks of it, like really old.
Are we calling ourselves old?
We
I
might
love
be
this.
calling ourselves
God, I
old.
remember that feeling where sometimes I really would just be like, I'm so old. So I'm talking about when I turned 20, you know, and I would be like, I'm 24 or something like that, you know, and they'd be like, God, I'm so old. And my roommate at the time / person I suppose I was dating, I don't know, I kept screwing up. But it was really funny. I'd be like, God, I feel so old. And they would just look at me.
Like,
and they were like, oh my God, you're not that old.
You
and I was
are
like,
a
I'm so old.
See, and for me, I had the experience of my friends always thinking they were old, because sometimes I knew people that were older than me, or even when they were younger than me, which is funny because I never knew a lot of people my own age. They always were a couple years older, a couple years younger.
Right.
I'd say, but like there was always this experience of them going, oh my God, I've turned 19, I'm so old. Oh my God, I've turned 23, I'm so old. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are so dramatic.
But however, at the same time too, I would actually also get that same person going, God, just sometimes you just seem so old, like you get the whole weight of the world on your shoulders kind of thing. And I'm like,
thanks.
That's called depression. But thank you.
All right. All right. So like we are dunking ourselves. We're calling ourselves ancient. Either that or really like basically saying, or we're dunking in the arcade, calling it out of touch. You are so out of date.
touch.
You're retro.
Like,
I guess it's really retro.
Really old.
Really
All right,
old.
this is not clicking. What'd you do?
Like super old.
All right, there we go.
Although I don't recognize that game with the stage lights and things. Maybe it's karaoke or dancing. A Japanese import. That's the Showtime stage.
Hey.
My sources say yes.
Checking. That would be Showtime Stage, a collaboration of Nahana Heavy Industry Concern and Hubris Records in Germany. It's won lots of rewards.
Awards. I say,
Awards.
Ha 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 ha. Huh?
Huh.
Just, huh. I recognize most of these.
I don't like it.
It's Moopy. There's a
And
game
they
called
call it
Moopy.
Moopy?
They call
That's
Pac-Man
adorable.
Moopy. That's amazing.
That's great.
Also, this horrible ticket spinner thing.
Oh God!
yeah.
I actually love. So there is a YouTube video on there where they talk about actually how they basically rig arcade games now.
Okay, but
But yeah.
Fist of Discomfort. It's Fist.
It's
of
Fist of
Discomfort.
Discomfort. Yes.
Okay, is that the penguin we have? Is that Pengy?
Pengy?
We have
it is. Yeah,
an
we have
arcade
Pengy.
game penguin
We
sitting
do.
in our house.
That's
That's
great. That's going to
amazing.
be our game, I betcha. And it also, it looks a little bit like one of those pull pin.
It looks like a pinball. It's a pinball machine. Yeah,
yeah.
Pengy is a pinball machine.
That's adorable.
I love this. Also, we've got Parrot Party.
I can't read it.
It looks
It's
like Parrot
something
Party.
golfy.
I don't know.
Golfer?
It's fine.
Something
All right.
golfer.
I recognize most of these. Whoa, is that seriously a Mr. Moopy's Magic Maze? But the one in the middle with the split screens is new to me.
Snack runner.
Yeah, Fist of Discomfort.
Or
is
Fist
new
of
to us.
Discomfort,
That's
okay.
the one.
Fist of Discomfort, a hybrid real-time strategy and brawler beat-em-up. It's actually not that new. It's been a staple of the esports scene for the last 8 years.
Okay, so hold on a second.
Oh boy.
So I love that the dialogue is matching up with the screen.
It is.
So
This is so thoughtful.
I was able to pick out what game the MC was talking about, and then the game confirmed it was correct.
That is so good.
So often we have played these kind of games, and the dialogue does not
Street Fighter.
indicate accurately
Right.
what it is that's going on the screen. And
No.
we'll just not even mention the arcana here and something about a cage or an elevator or a, oh wait, we mentioned it.
I was gonna say,
but
or
in this
even
case-
other ones though too, like where we've played My Mystic Dragons or any of the Genius
and
games.
they're talking
they
about
don't.
this thing, and you're
You're
going,
going,
that's
what?
a hotel room? That's a hotel kitchen? Wait, this is an apartment, not a hotel? That's
Right.
a school, not a metroplex? Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just-
no.
Anyway, this is a school bus, and it looks like a Japanese city bus. It's fine.
Right?
Anyway, so I'm just like, I love that. So just in review of this game and critique, like that's super positive. When I went, oh, it's Fist of Discomfort, and that's exactly what she was talking about. In the same way that it was the stage dancing game, having the graphics match up to the words is so good.
It's
And
also very aware too. It means that your game and also your production, like all of your parts of your team, were
We're
well
working
connected.
together.
And they were all like, "Oh, I actually read the script. I actually made this from scratch. We actually did pay attention to what people were saying."
Or when we played through, we had a plan of going, oh, this line means this thing will exist. And they didn't, skimp on the graphics of going, yeah, just drop something in that area. So that makes me really
Yeah,
happy.
why not?
2 genres I was utterly lousy at last time I checked.
Ugh.
I like Snake Runner. It's a snack
Snack
runner.
Runner. Snack
Like
Runner.
they actually have snack in the video game. Okay, so these for me, like there was a couple of memes that I've run into that for me I'm like these are accessible, and it's so nice because in a lot of games you can feel like this feels like an in joke, but it just pulls me out kind of thing of my suspension of disbelief because I'm not in the in joke.
Right.
But sometimes you can recognize it, like we did with My Mystic Dragons, where we're like, this looks like a character from a whole other game.
Right.
What is this? And we turned out that it was a cameo.
Right.
I'll say, which was super cool. But anyways, and over here is an old lady. All right.
Oh,
I'll just say out loud, look at that knitting. That's great.
that's amazing.
You look fabu.
Oh.
Sorry, ma'am. I was just talking to myself, and I had an overwhelming urge to complete my sentences because I was narrating. I was playing State the Obvious. The
Her
claw machine,
freaking earrings.
the Pac-Man,
Yes!
the cherry. That is adorable. Thankfully, I don't think she even registered me calling her old. She looks up from her knitting, seated behind the ticket prize redemption desk, and ticket prize redemption desk. Okay, yeah, I can see that.
It's
And offers a wrinkly smile.
Well, hello there. Always nice to meet someone new in the Funplex.
You're adorable.
That's very cute. All right, the what? I forgot where I am.
Francine's Arcade Funplex. Didn't you see the sign out front, dear?
You're adorable. I love you.
You mean the
Well,
Funplex?
I chose to knock off the first 2 words when they got knocked off the building during the storm of 1980. No, it's just the Funplex, I suppose. So, how can I help you, dear?
1, I love your voice. 2, they bleeped
Ooh.
out the X. That's freaking
That's
hilarious.
adorable. All right, we're
All
gonna
right.
get to choose, my friend. You
I
get
know, I
to
know. I
choose.
gotta look at this. A genie on my phone set up a job interview for me. A Funplex. Is that where you suplex clown? No. You've been in business for XX years. I kind of since the character seems disoriented, like I'm talking to my phone, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like it would fit most to be, you've been in business for XX years?
Sure, let's try that.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna end up with a lot of neutrals, unfortunately, but here we go. The storm of 1980X. I wasn't technically alive for that, but I heard it was pretty awful. We are young.
We are a little young.
Here we go. Do you want me to do this?
I mean, I could do it if you want.
All right, go ahead and do it.
And,
We've endured many a northeaster around these parts. You get used to it. My little arcade stood the test of time and weathered all the elements.
Okay, so something I'm also very charmed about, since this game has some voiceover, but not full voiceover, which honestly I like. It gives you a little room to breathe.
Right.
When a game is full voiceover, sometimes it's a little overwhelming for me.
Yes.
Like it just won't stop. Sort of like a little bit in Oxenfree.
Yes.
It's just a little bit
It's already
much.
too fast to begin with. It's like, bleh.
Anyway, so for this particular one, I'm having this experience of going, it also informs to the voices.
Yes.
So you don't have to pick one for everybody. You can kind of just go, oh, I know a little bit what they're like. And that's kind of fun. Anyway, so I like that.
We've actually been around since 1970, back when the games were in black and white and pinball was all the rage. Oh, how times change.
So a stable business.
Quite.
I was afraid you'd be going out of business. So I guess you've been around before it was even trendy to be around.
I love the character design on here, I have to say.
She
I am
looks
actually
great.
really,
I love the knitting
really
bag.
delighted.
And the asymmetrical patterned coat.
She's so cute.
It's just-
There's also the fact, like, again, I'm like, the color and the design on this is so much more brilliant than I thought it was going to be. So I will have to admit, one of the big things that I've really enjoyed about the Arcana, so I'm going to bring up the Arcana, was the fact that the Arcana is so brilliantly colored. There's so many lights, there's so many things going on, and I have to admit, unfortunately, dealing with anything from the 1980s, which is what a lot of this stylistically seems to try to pull from, is really...
A lot of the colors tend to be super muted.
Muted or like grungy. Like there's not, and so what actually, I was having some fear going, great, we're going to deal with the 1980s, and everybody really likes stylizing the 1980s as being really kind of gross or grungy and dark.
Single thing is going to be colored like the arcade floor or like the skee ball machine.
Yes! And I was kind of concerned, and I'm like, no, these character designs slowly like are way more bright and brilliant than I expected, and it's really fucking nice.
So I kind of want to just really quick say, when we were playing the Arcana at first, we asked a number of people, and we even asked the internet are there any games like the Arcana that are dating games?
Right.
And we got mentioned to a couple of games that to us didn't really have hardly anything in common with them, especially with dramatically different formats like Mystic Messenger.
Right.
Going, holy crap. And I don't know if people were going for something more fantasy feeling or whatever, but I'm like, so far this game, with its inclusiveness, with its ability to design your character, with its brighter colors and its complex plot and its lengthy game, sounds way more like the Arcana than any of the other ones I've had recommended.
Well, and so far as I can tell, because it is also a game that wants to be done, it's a whole and complete story that knows from beginning to end where it wants to go, and that it's not trying to continually get money out of you, unfortunately.
There aren't premium options in here. We own this thing.
Yeah, we do own this thing, which makes this game so much fun. And I'm going to encourage people, like, this seems like a really cool game. If you are enjoying this so far, I would recommend going and checking this thing out, even if it's just to go try the demo and see what you think of it. I'm not sure if there's a demo, or like you could just basically walk along with us.
Yeah, so as we get further along, you might find that either you would have designed your character differently, you'd like to make different choices. There's a horde of impressive choices in here.
It's
like,
amazing.
Wow.
I love
also,
this.
just setting up one of 3 entire overarching gameplay experiences.
Right.
I'm not going to get over that. That's pretty freaking cool.
That's so cool.
All right, so I wonder if she's dateable. What I'm actually giggling about is that, like, if this is the person we're supposed to interview with, she has almost the same hair color we do. And I'm giggling my ass off about it, going,
cute.
You know what? I would love it if a dialogue option appeared randomly. If you happen to choose the same hair color as someone, that they go, oh, we have something in common. Like, that would be so much fun.
That would be adorable.
All right, that long, but I thought the arcade business was high risk.
Not when you hire good people with love in their hearts.
That's an ideal.
Actually, are you here looking for work, perchance?
I am currently classified as a job-seeking individual. Yes.
Oh, thank goodness. I've been hoping someone would reply to that ad I posted on the webs.
Please call me Francine.
That's adorable.
As
On the
in
webs.
Francine's Arcade Funplex. Get it?
That's so cute.
That's adorable.
Actually, thinking about it, I suppose we were originally Frederick's Arcade Funplex, named after my
She's
dear
just gonna say it.
departed husband.
Aww.
Sadly, he died peacefully in bed some years ago.
Oh.
I don't know if it's just me, so I apologize here for definitely, like, I might be stereotyping, But due to the way some of this design isn't green, is she trans?
Well, that's what I was wondering, and then I was wondering if Frederick
And
was
I do
her.
not mean this in a rude way. And I totally get how that's basically trying to clock someone or whatever else.
Yeah.
But I'm like, and that is not my intent. She is clearly very pretty. I am not doing that at all.
What
I'm
I
just-
would tend to say is that the only reason that would come up for either of us is because we've been socialized that characters will look a certain way.
I'm
and
only
it's
talking
more
about
than-
what I perceive as an Adam's apple, basically.
Oh, really?
That's all I'm talking about, actually.
Okay.
So that is what I am experiencing. So I
See,
don't
and
know
for
what
me,
you're looking
I'm
at.
getting to a socialization point of going, if you put certain features on certain
Oh,
characters,
like
you're
having
trying
the
to call them
cleft
out.
chin
like
kind
a
of
strong
thing?
chin, or the really strong jawline, or
Right.
again like larger ears, or like that style of nose.
And also-
it's a socialization thing of going, here's where we're looking for the joke character.
Yes.
And I've been pissed off at it most of my life, and I love the fact that one, she's super comfortable.
She's
with
also a
herself.
full character.
Two, she's a full ass character. Three, that she's really just like, hi, I own this place and I've been running it. It's
Right.
very sweet.
There's also the thing too, so that I again, this is a lot of assumptions, and I apologize. I don't really know how to approach this sensitively at all, but also sometimes I'm like, I feel like it's a conversation to have because character designs and choices are character designs and choices. But also going like, well, why isn't this just a choice that people can just have? But I'm like, I think it's interesting because it adds another layer of complexity of going, what if you have basically other more obviously queer characters or LGBTQ, IA plus whatever characters you have, and like this would be interesting and inclusive in that way of going like, it sounds like there is a cis voice actor for this character, but I don't know.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
like,
just like,
honestly, that's why I'm going like, I have multiple layers to this going, am I just trying to clock someone, which is incredibly goddamn inappropriate,
me,
by
I'm
the way.
sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And
Me,
I
what?
want to apologize like as well, because I'm like, as much as I want, but I'm also like going, I'm looking for basically inclusiveness, because the game itself is also like, this is what we're here for. We are trying to be inclusive and
to have
basically have
representation.
a large range of representation. And I think that would be adorable if she was absolutely on the scale somewhere. She doesn't even have to be trans. There's nothing that's required for that. I just think it's cool that you would have that also represented more in your cast. And even in your cast, that would just be like, I'm just your boss.
And so I was going to say, but for me, again, the only experience I had was basically, so in the way that somebody very thoughtfully pointed out, the problem, and many people have now pointed out, with Rita Skeeter in Harry Potter and the way she's described, where she sounds very much like a trans woman, but in a very derogatory, stereotypical kind of way.
Yes.
And that I never picked up on that, but I've played enough visual video games that I have encountered a lot of like I don't even know, like
stereotypes
transphobic
and
jokes is what I wanna
aggressive,
call them.
yeah.
What I want to call them is transphobic jokes.
I mean, they
and
are.
comedy, because I didn't really have that label necessarily. I was say, and there's always that thing of it's a dude in a dress or etc.
Yeah.
Or it's clearly a woman masquerading as a man, and later you're going to find out she's freaking beautiful, kind of thing,
Ugh, I hate
etc.
crap
etc.
like
And
that.
I've never really liked either of them, but for me, that is the only thing I get on this character of going. There is this archetype that I have been trained for visually of this is how we do this.
Right.
And so I went, oh, is she trans because of the art style? And I don't think I ever really have that problem, or I say problem, that experience in real life. I never really think about it that much. People are just people. But I think
Right.
part of that has to do with being like really demisexual and also an artist.
Right.
Of going, one, I don't find anybody to be inherently sexually attractive. So I'm not like turning people into body parts very much, but also an artist. So people are interesting to look at.
Right.
People are interesting to look at.
Right.
Period. That's kind
Well,
of how
and
I
it's also
operate.
one of those things too, where sometimes with this I guess particularly show, as it were, sometimes we end up asking ourselves sort of questions, and that's a thing that we should have, I think. But also at the same time too, it's one of those things to realize that you want to have those very sensitive, quiet conversations of going like, look, I get where this could be insensitive and calling yourself out, and also basically trying to interact with it as you're sort of talking through the process.
Okay, so there was this really great TED Talk, and I do not know what it was called, but I kind of want to look it up for this, so if we can remember, we'll link it, and if we don't link it, please ask us. In fact, if you're ever on any of our videos and we don't link something, we will.
Oh,
say
yeah,
we will.
ask us, please.
Ask, and we will put that link right up, because sometimes we cover a lot of things, and even
And then we
don't
completely
catch it all.
forget, yeah.
Anyway, so there's this TED Talk about a man who identifies that he's racist, and so he moves to basically the blackest neighborhood he can find, actually in South Africa, basically.
Right.
And when he moves in, he is the only white man for like 100 miles.
Right.
And his neighbors are kind of looking at him, and he's super uncomfortable. Like, he has identified in himself, I know I am a racist, right?
Right.
And I want to change it, but I have no idea how. And the best thing I know for, basically
Exposure.
overcoming fears, because racism is a fear, is exposure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's exposure therapy.
I was going to say,
basically,
anyway, so when he's moving in, he tells his neighbors when they ask, hey, why are you moving into this neighborhood kind of thing? Hey, welcome. What brought you here? He says, I'm a racist and I want to change that. And he said the response was overwhelmingly warm to him going, I know I have a problem and I'm trying to fix it.
There's also the thing, though, that I wanted to mention. So something like that of going, like, I do not want to spend my time trying to clock characters. There's also the problem, like, because that also just, it adds, I think, to something terrible. But again, like, I'm going, like, I'm looking, I guess, for that way, for that representation, because I'm like, I would like to have that there. And also going, your trans characters do not need to look incredibly like where people go, oh, trans only looks one way. So we have a problem here in Colorado. And I say problem because I find it to be offensive.
Okay.
But where there basically is this assumption of basically, if you're going to transition, you must actually go through medical sexual reassignment surgery, which I am incredibly personally offended by. That if somebody wants to be trans or that they identify as trans, they must physically alter themselves to have feminization surgery or masculinization surgery or whatever kind of surgery that they want to basically have to get to their
As far as I know, it's
assigned.
neither of those. It's only sexual reassignment.
Is it
You
only, like,
cannot
physical?
keep your physiology that would be identified with a different binary gender.
Okay, well, for me though, but that also seems to
That's
go.
way invasive.
That's
It's
still
very
super
aggressive.
fucking invasive. But
So
I'm just like,
I myself am terrified of surgery. I am terrified of other people screwing with my body and making either mistakes or causing complications or basically mistreating it, that kind of thing. So medically, I have always been terrified of procedures because one, you're knocked out and you don't know what they're doing. Two, they don't know your body the way you know your body. And they have basically a formula that they're working from these are how bodies in general work. And if you're not like that, then they can't necessarily give you the best care. Additionally, if they don't have the same vision in mind for you that you do, then they can't do that as well. Also, if they're working with time pressure, if they're working with limited resources, if they're tired that day, if they're working with other people,
they're still
pressuring
people.
them to either hurry up or hey, just get this done.
Get this done
I'm
in a
not
certain amount of
invested
time.
right now. Like there can be so many things, and like bodily freedom and autonomy and also health and stuff is one of the biggest things for me. Like I am terrified of losing that to someone else.
But I was going to say, so, for me, I find stuff like that to be really offensive, and I'm also just I don't want that to be a thing. But there's also, what I'm trying to really say is that anybody who's trans can really look like anything. People going, you haven't transitioned at all, and the person going, I am still that thing, fuck you. I don't care if I have a beard.
I am raised as one thing, and now I'm something else. That's a transition. Done.
Done, period. Or I'm something else that might even be in between, and that is still a trans process. That is still what's going on.
See, and I think also both of us, because we know this game is meant to be LGBTQIA+ inclusive, we're also looking for that representation.
I know.
Which also sets you up to try and look for things. So I'm trying to support my friend here going,
yes,
they are looking for representation.
But also, I want to say, feel free to call me out. That's the thing, though, too. Being because we are open. Yes, again, there's also that thing of, I'm trying to be inclusive, but that doesn't mean that I always have the language or I always have the right approach at all. This is us trying to learn.
I would say, yeah, and it is. And this has actually been an active learning process for both of us, frequently realizing things in ourselves going, I didn't really know I thought that until I had to say it out loud. And you never really have as clear of an idea of your thoughts until you've said them out loud. And then sometimes you listen to yourself and you go, wait, do I really think that? And you realize sometimes that you do. And other times you stop and go, no, that's not quite right. On the other hand, what I was going to say is I also like that she's drawn differently, regardless of any of what we've been discussing at all, because people always make girls or women's faces look one way.
I know. I was actually also going to say that could be offensive, syndrome. Going that problem where there was so in the United States there was an issue where a woman actually had another woman basically call the cops on them, going, this is a man trying to get into the women's bathroom, and she's like, I am a woman, fuck you. And she was completely a cis woman, and basically because of the amount of transphobia running around in our society, she got the cops called on her.
People are just trying to catch other people out at things. And I've honestly, as I've run into the culture of people trying to catch each other out at things, specifically in regards to gender, which confuses and frustrates me. Unfortunately, it was going to take me a little while to get used to because I grew up very much under a rock. Yes. I grew up incredibly sheltered. Were you born in a barn? Did you grow up under a rock? Yes, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of me.
That's also
and I read a whole lot of books. Anyway, so for me, I'm like, there's this level of, I've seen plenty of women that look like this is clearly a man in a dress. And I'm like, actually, that was our neighbor down the street, and she had 5 kids and a husband and didn't even understand that gender was a thing. As far, even ever beyond, well, women are moms kind of thing. Like that level of, if you will, and pardon the labeling, of like lower class sort of hillbilly stereotype kind of thing.
Right.
Going, I have very little education and very little connection to the fact that gender even exists. You just have boys and girls. They exist.
Right.
Babies are boys or they're girls, and you never think about it.
And that's all you have.
Other than that.
And it's
not
also
even-
very much sexual reduction, too, down to sexual characteristics.
Except for it's not even, it's not
Primary
even that's all you
sexual
have. You just
characteristics.
never think about it.
Yeah.
It's not a discussion. It's not a conversation. It's not a question. You just have boys team and girls team, and you don't even think about the fact that they're divided that way. That's just your world.
Right, that's
You
just how that
breathe.
works. Yep.
And so that's what I grew up with a lot. And for me, when I started encountering the conversation, and this episode's going to be a little bit long because I kind of want to get this out there a little bit. When I started encountering the idea of the conversation of, some people aren't the gender that I personally think they should be or think they actually are, I got so confused at so many people with their pictures and so many of even the video game stereotypes and stuff going, I know women that look like that, and they are genuine,
Real
cis, have all the characteristics that you would require for your, gatekeeping of, the binary. They're women, and yeah, they look like that. In fact, my last supervisor,
Right.
she could be considered to look very masculine.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly,
I remember.
it made her deeply uncomfortable. And as I got
She
to
was
know
trying
her more,
so hard
working
to
with
be
her,
super more feminine, but she was never also comfortable with it, ever, which was always interesting
So
to me.
she'd always been basically one of the guys, rough and tough, sturdier build, powerful woman, powerful girl kind of thing.
Much
And
thicker
as
for
she's-
sure.
Yeah, and as she'd gotten older and older, she felt more and more displaced of going, I'm not doing the woman role correctly.
Yeah.
And like she kind of got married like aggressively, like quickly, and almost the way she described it to be sort of in a panic to fill that role.
Trying to be
while
a woman.
I was even work
yeah.
there of going, I need to be a woman and it looks like this certain thing.
And I need to be feminine too,
Uh-huh.
except for the fact, again, she was never very good at like basically reconciling that she didn't seem to like it at all.
That it wasn't something she loved or connected with, even though it was something she desperately wanted to basically check off on her list of this is what you're supposed to do as a woman.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all of that stuff.
I was also going to say that, and also for me, sometimes I find this to be interesting to have this conversation because I realize also how much basically I've done more or less assumptiveness in regards to sexual characteristics, primary sexual characteristics, or even secondary sexual characteristics. Because we are making the assumption that male and female, one, is the only thing that looks like, and that male and female is completely immutable, and that's all just how it works kind of thing, and that these characteristics always equal man, and these characteristics always equal woman, and man always has these, and woman always has these, therefore that makes them female, and this one makes them male.
Which is why I like cis
Yes.
as a term, because for me, that pulls any genetic or any other things of like chromosomes out of there.
Right.
Because what it is what did the doctor see when they pulled you out of the womb?
Yep.
And you identify with that.
Yes.
And because since they do not do genetic testing,
They
since
don't.
it has nothing to do with whether or not your body starts to present differently based on hormones or expression later on,
Yep.
or anything else, they said, for whatever reason, to me this is a boy, and you go, yeah, I'm a boy my whole life. That's cis.
Yes.
So which makes an easy term, because then it doesn't count on necessarily biological
Well,
essentialism
essentialism, yeah.
at all. It just counts on your parents going, yeah, I agree with what the doctor said, and then you going, me too.
Right?
Which
exactly.
is my experience.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, thank you very much, guys, then, for joining us. We appreciate this. If you have any thoughts, please feel free to share them. This
Absolutely.
is totally meant to be a mindful conversation. This is what we're here for. Also, sometimes we totally miss stuff because guess what? We're talking a lot. And sometimes we're not taking the time to sit down here and just, go, yeah, I'm really going to think about this for a couple of minutes and then I'll come back, because this is not a live stream. This is still a Let's Play. But other than that, though, again, like I said, feel free to like or comment. Like, your comments are very much deeply appreciated.
We love them.
Please also feel free to subscribe if you like what we talk about, or
Yep.
if you just kind of like our views, or just want to continue seeing what we come up with.
Yep.
And also, other than that, feel free to go check out our Ko-Fi or our Patreon. We got some links in the description down below if you'd like to sponsor us to play a game, if you'd just like to tip us because, again, you think we're awesome, or number 3, just because you want to support us, which would be super cool. Other than that, I have been Scandal.
And honestly, I really enjoyed this conversation and think it's really important to have. And I'm trying to work on my own biases and limitations as well as the inclusiveness of my language. And I'm excited that more and more with this channel we've been able to do that.
Yes.
And I have been Liz.
And it was great playing with you. Bye.